12.1, dot plots, histograms, mean, and median. A dot plot is a plot where you have a dot for each data value on a scale or number line. When you're working with a dot plot, you're going to notice that the shape of your graph can be symmetrical or skewed. If it's symmetrical, you'll look for your highest quantity of values and then determine if the values on the left and the right match up or are equal. If for some reason your high value quantity is on one side of the graph and then you have a grouping of values that tail off in one direction, this is considered skewed. And if the tail is to the left, we call this left skewed. If your high value quantity is on the graph and then you have values that go to the right or tails off to the right, this is what they call right skewed. The term skewed is what's happening when the values are affecting the mean. So because we have all of these values to the left of this high quantity value, your mean is going to be pulled to the left end of the graph. Where for the right skewed, we have a lot of values tailing off to the right, and it's going to skew our mean to the right half of the graph or towards values in that general direction. And we'll see what we mean as we move through some of the notes. Mean means average, so we're looking for the average of the data set. So we add up all of the numbers together and then divide by the amount of numbers or data pieces. Median is the middle value, so it's the value in the very middle of the data set. If you have an even number of data points and you come to the middle and it's split between two values, you take the average of those two values. So let's say it falls between 6 and 7. Well, that means your median would be 6.5. Mode is the most commonly occurring value in the data set. So you're just looking for the number that appears the most. If data is symmetrical, then the mean and median should be about the same. If the data is skewed, the mean and median will be different. When your data is symmetrical, the mean is a good choice for describing the data. When your data is skewed, the median is a good choice for describing the data. Something to keep in mind for later questions. All right, here we have the students of River City High School were randomly selected and asked, how many pets do you currently own? The results are recorded below. And so with these results, I've already created my dot plot, so you're going to want to go ahead and do that on your paper. And you're putting a dot at each value to indicate how many data points in the actual collection of data there are. So as I look at my dot plot, I'm going to describe the distribution of the data. Well, I know it's skewed because it kind of tails off to the left. But if I want to be more specific, I'm going to say that tails off to the right, not the left. I'm going to say that it's right skewed. And what this means is that all of these values at this end of the plot are going to move the mean value of the whole plot more to the right than it needs to be. So it's right skewed. In the next part, it asks us to calculate the mean, the median, and the mode. So to calculate the mean, we add up all of our points and we divide by the total number of data points. So when I add up all of the values in the table, I should get 96, and I know that there are a total of 30 data points. So I've got 96 divided by 30, which gives me a mean value of 3.2. Then I want to find the median. To find the median, we're just looking for the middle value. If there are 30 values, the very middle would be in between the 15th and 16th value. So I'm just going to count over 15, and then I know that my 15th value is here, my 16th value is here. In between those two would just be the number 2. So my median is just 2. And then mode is which value occurs the most. Well, in this case, my mode is 1, because 1 is the most occurring data point in the entire set. We know this data is skewed because notice the mean and median are not the same number. They're different. They're not actually that close either. What do you think is a typical number of pets that a student owns? Well, remember, it's skewed. And when we said if the data is skewed, our median is the better choice. So I say that a typical number of pets a student owns is going to be between 1 and 2, but closer to 2. "25 car owners were asked the age of their cars in years. So we want to go ahead and take a second and create the dot plot using the values given. And then we'll answer the following questions. So I have my dot plot, and now I need to describe the distribution of the data. Well, once again, I have my high value at 8, my higher grouping of values at 8, but then it tails off to the left. So I know that this means that this is left skewed. Now I want to calculate the mean, median, and mode. Well, for mean, I'm going to add up all the values and then divide by the total number of values in the data set. So when I add up all the values, we get a total of 146 divided by the 25 data points. And I figure out that my mean is right around 5.84. Then I start looking at the median. Well, if there's 25 data points, the very center data point should be the 13th point. So I count over, and my 13th point is 7, so my median is 7. And then last but not least is mode, which is the most occurring value, which in this case would be 8. And so it says, what do you think a typical number of age of a car, for the age of a car? What do I think the typical age of a car is for this? Well, we know it's skewed, so the mean is probably not a good indicator. So I'm going to say it's either going to be 7 or 8, or in between 7 and 8 years. A histogram is a bar graph that groups data together in intervals. All right, so we have 25 people who are attending an event. The ages of the people are indicated below. And we want to create a histogram using this data. So I need to look at my table, and I've got intervals from like 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 20 to 25, and so on. So I know for 0 to 5, I've got these values here. And then for 5 to 10, or in this case, I'll say 6 to 10, I've got these values here. Then for the interval from, let's say, 15 to 20, I've got these two. And then from 21 to 25, I've got these ones here. So I'll create my histogram using this information. Well, from 0 to 5, well, let's say from 0 to 5, let's say we've got 6 or 7 values here. From 5 to 10, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Right? We've got 13 values. And then we don't have anything from 10 to 15. And then from 15 to 20, we've got 2. And then 22 to 25 here, we've got 3 values. So like that. So in this one, we want to talk about the distribution of data. Well, we know that this is skewed. It's not symmetrical whatsoever. The data kind of falls, a lot of it falls to the left. We want to find the mean, median, and mode. So remember, for mean, we add up all the values, and then we divide by the number of values. There's 25 people, So we're going to take the total, which is I think 213, and divide by 25, and we get that the mean for this is 8.52. Then we find the median. So the median value would be the very middle. The middle of 25 would be 13 units in, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so we get over, and the median actually for this one is 6. And then it asks for mode. So what is the most commonly occurring value? Well, in this case, our most commonly occurring value is also 6. And so it says, what do you think the typical age of a person attending the event was? Well, based on the data and how much we have going on here, I'd say probably between 5 and 10 years if you're talking range, but I'd say closer to 6 or 7 years old. Here, 40 people were were also attending an event. The ages of the people were 6, 13, and so on. And here we're looking to create a histogram from the intervals the same way we did before to illustrate the data set. And so go ahead and take a second from 0 to 10, figure out how many people there were, and draw your graph. So go ahead and pause the video, create your graph, and then we'll pick up from there. All right, so now that I have my histogram drawn, I can start analyzing the data. The distribution for this data, I would say this is fairly symmetrical. It's not perfect, but it is fairly symmetrical. And so what do I think the typical age of a person attending the event was? I'm going to say it's going to be somewhere between 50 and 60 years old. So like I said, between 50 and 60 years old, if you want, you could calculate the mean or the median here. They're going to be fairly close because it's symmetrical to give you an an exact value for what you're looking for, a more accurate value. These last two questions I'll kind of leave up to you. How would you describe the difference in the two histograms? So go back and look at the histograms. What were some of the differences you noticed? And then what are the similarities and differences between a dot plot and a histogram? So go ahead and think about what you saw and how they're used, and then answer those.